Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, free enterprise fans, and welcome to the Highway to the Zemus Zone Semifinals. We're almost to the end of this year's tournament. My name is Organ Mike. We've got Fiery Blizzard tracking for us, and Dale pushing the buttons to make things go. And with me in the commentary booth is Dakar Smash for this wonderful game between Pyre and xPankraz. Dakar, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. Trying to figure out what game this is I'm looking at after about a month on the road.
Well, I believe it is Free Enterprise, a randomizer for Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah, it looks kind of familiar. Anyway, we have a very, very exciting match here today between Pyre and xPankraz. Two of the very best, and they have been for a while, so gonna put on a real good show for us, I think.
It always seems to be, and I'm looking at these goals that we have. We've got 8 goals in front of us, and they have to complete 6 of them. As always, we've got Kokol forging the Legend Sword with the Adamant, but also liberate Baron Castle, which means, which could be a quick one or a long one, depending on where the Baron key might be. Trade away the Pink Tail, which requires a Pink Tail and a hook. Return the pan to Yang's wife. That requires getting a pan in the first place and getting away underground. To destroy the super cannon needs a tower key and a means to get underground. Queen at the Town of Monsters, underground. The Giant of Babel will take us the Darkness Crystal and is, I'm going to guess, probably going to be the one or one of the 2 that are left behind by this run. And finally, the Vanilla Crystal Sword Altar up on the moon. So we do have to get underground, and we don't necessarily need the Darkness Crystal to finish the seed.
Yeah, I'd say this is a very well-rounded set of objectives. You've got sort of 3 that are gated by underground or the moon, which is about par for the course. And then you don't really have any of the doubles. I mean, 1 hook objective, 1 Baron objective. So, well-rounded.
Yeah, and a few that could lead into others. Baron Castle will give us a key item. The pan, going back to Young's wife, actually gives us 3 key item checks in total. The Queen at the Town of Monsters has a key item for us, as does the Super Cannon. And the Crystal Sword Altars, I guess, technically. And we've got Cecil as our hero for this. And we are on the road already, so let's see what who Cecil is going to be paired with.
All right, let's see an Edward here.
We got one of the twins.
That's a Porum. That's a
Uh,
decent starting character, and a Pink Tail is part of an objective.
Yeah, that gives us. Well, the Pink Tail doesn't lead anywhere, so it does give us a terminal point for one of the objectives if they find the hook. Porum, you said. I can never tell the twins apart. And Porum is the white mage? Big question mark?
That is correct, yep.
Hi, you got it right!
So a little bit more challenging to get started with Porum than a Palom.
And our runners are off. And Pyre seems to be headed directly to the Watery Pass to do some looting, while xPankraz is headed to Eblon to do the same.
Immediate looting divergence is interesting.
Fiery Blizzard in chat pointing out the Magma Key is guaranteed to be the way underground. I'm not sure why that would be. Fiery Blizzard now saying it isn't, so that's on me. All right.
Yeah, I was stumped there too.
I tend to trust people because, as I'm fond of saying, I have not run a seed in years, and the last time I did it, we had to actually find the crystal, not make it. So, it's been a while. Veritas Knight pointing out that Porum, the O is for orange, and she wears the orange shirt. It's the only way that it can be kept straight. That's actually very helpful. If I remember that, I will keep it in mind.
Both runners finding some Hanzo steel early, but not really the items that get this party started.
There's a Blitz Whip, but we've got the wrong child mage for that.
Power Staff in a pinch can bonk some things.
Diamond Armor, which isn't useful until after we visit Ordeals.
Speaking of ordeals, the Pink Tail here also is an interesting starting item because of the possibility of it turning into a big stick.
We got Pyre headed to Mount Hobbs in order to see who new character will be and what particular thing will need to be fought to get that new character, while Pankraz continues to loot Eblin Castle.
All right,
Obviously-
the Orange Keep. That means we have the Twin Command
Got-
online.
We've got both twins. And we've got a Dark Knight facing a Dark Knight. And it should just be one cure potion should keep Cecil alive through this.
Yep.
And we will soon discover that darkness is not that justice is not the only right in this world.
Pyre making a strategic choice here to get experience on the Palom instead of the Porum.
Or on both, actually. Oh, it doesn't quite make it. Yeah.
Not quite.
Someday you
Yeah.
will see.
So the advantage of doing the Palom here is that you get a little bit more agility on him, you get his spells online, and the agility is important for setting up the Twin Command because you really want him to be faster than Porum.
Why would that be?
It helps to make sure that you are using Palom's magic stat instead of Porum's, which is a lot more effective.
That makes a good amount of sense. Pankraz also setting up for the trip up Mount Hobbs. And Pyre, having completed that, is now headed over to the Antlion Cave.
Yep, the Twin Command here is going to probably get us through most of the overworld, but we can still hope for some of the bosses that are a little resistant to it, like CPU, for example.
Pankraz does not seem to have a cure potion in hand. That could be a problem.
It could be. Rolls have not been super friendly.
Ouch, indeed. Perhaps going to set up for a cure spell instead from that healer.
Yeah, I think that should work.
And Pyre finds the Fabul Gauntlet hiding in the antlion nest.
A little unfortunate. It means we won't see it anywhere fun.
Making use of that twin command to do some fire to bring the heat.
Yep. First fight's a good place to use it since that's the only 3 target group of enemies in this gauntlet.
And Pankraz is through this time and also using life on that Palom.
Yeah, probably for the same reason.
Justice remains not the only right in this world. Someday you will see.
And I think it's very likely he will be joining Pyre in the Antlion Cave shortly here.
That seems to be a reasonable place to go.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to Fabul, but it feels really bad if you get, like, the Magma Key and Antlion.
It's common to try and get inside the runners' heads a bit and see who feels like they might be in the lead, who feels like they might be behind, and how that affects their decisions too.
It is. I mean, at this early stage, I don't think either runner is going to feel particularly ahead or behind. Pankraz might be sweating the very quick wipe, but I don't think that's a big deal.
And there's the Magma Key. Good call on that.
Yeah, that is kind of why, you might want to route it this way, because now you can at least set up Sheila 1 before you do Fabul.
You also get a look at the Queen of the Town of Monsters, get the free key item out of the Town of Monsters.
Might even find a pan there, if you really want a Jet Seed. Pankraz showing off the Dark Knight's wave attack.
Yeah. Taking on fight 1 of 5 of his gauntlet. Pyre checking out the equipment at Agart. There's a whistle there if he ever wants to call a big chocobo.
Probably not the best investment of his gold pieces.
Definitely not a strategy I've seen many runners using.
Yeah, I mean, there was a wacky where you I think have to summon the big chocobo, but I've never played that one.
Could be an interesting idea for future updates to the randomizer to have the big chocobo carrying an item that might be a key item.
That would be a sneaky place to hide it for sure.
And Pyre causing untold destruction to the small town of Agart by creating a massive earthquake and opening a pit deep into the underground.
I mean, despite the big explosion, everybody looks pretty calm, and the town looks just the same as before, so I guess it's okay.
They seem to be doing just fine. Pyre making his way diagonally down, Pankraz grabbing the magma key. Pyre is going to check, I believe that's Cave of Summon Monsters.
It is, and this is very standard routing from Pyre. Gonna check some chests on the way down. Makes sense.
Yes, there's only one treasure chest in here that has monsters in it, so finding it early means you can duck out quickly and retake all the other chests.
Yep, we'll see how many he goes. Maybe it's just gonna be the first 3.
That seems to be the case. And the further down you find those monsters, the more time you lose in resetting out, and there's no way you're going to be beating them at this point in the game.
Certainly not with our party. Yes, it is now, yeah.
And our free key item is a Stardust Rod.
It's not a key item, but it's a pretty good item.
We had a waterfall check from Pankraz. It looked like the Baron guards were there.
Okay, I did not catch that, but yeah, gotta check for Demus at some point.
Oh, and a black sword.
Yeah, I think we started with one, or at least both runners found one, if not.
Pankraz in Baron, rather. Oh, and finds a Rydia guarded by Calbrina dolls. That should be a fairly easy fight at this spot. The question is, who's behind it? We're going to get a check from Pyrus who's the queen, and it is Ogopogo, my Canadian buddy.
Yeah, that is a pretty rude queen spot.
And the king was Bahamut.
Not a very rude king spot. Is Pyre
On
gonna go for it here?
I think so, looks like it. And, oh, second fight in Baron Inn is the Dark Imps.
That's a bit rough.
In this spot, at this level, yeah, they punch pretty hard. Oh, Bahamut's
Certainly
moving
do.
pretty quick. Yeah. And here's Angry Bahamut doing a Mega Nuke that will get reflected back.
Yep, and so the key here is just to make sure you always have a Star Veil up on somebody.
Bahamut is moving awfully quick.
He is, but we started with a generous 5 Star Veils, it looks like.
And he's going to do another 10,000 damage to himself. That is not going to be enough.
No, it will take 2 more here, but with 35,000 hit points. Spot.
Makes sense. This should also be pretty good for getting these characters online. Should provide a lot of experience.
Yeah, it might be a little tricky to get all of them to survive just because of the walls dropping off, but we'll see how it goes.
And Cecil, of course, being the hero, doesn't actually need to survive it. So at this point, he'll still get the experience regardless. So at this point, I think Pyre's just going to wait it out, because both mages should still have their veils up.
I think so.
Looks like it.
Very nicely executed.
And 26,000 experience. Getting a little more magic for those twins. Pankraz heading over to crack an egg, it looks like. Going to use his siren to summon a monster, and we have a black belt from the King of Summon Monsters.
You don't hate it.
Oh, and Pankraz is trying to use that black sword he's got to instant kill the egg.
Yeah, the timing here, though, is awfully tricky, so I think he's going to switch to a more conservative stop-based strategy.
Yeah, you try it once, and if it works, great, and if it's not, you're out 10 seconds. Oh, and it worked the second time. There you are.
Second time's the charm. So both of our runners have now got a nice EXP infusion. A little bit more for Pankraz. I think this will get him to Quake, whereas Pyre only has Virus.
And unsurprisingly, not taking on that Ogopogo, but leaving back to the underworld. And, oh, he's going to recharge himself at the healing pot in the back of the dwarf castle.
Yeah, that's a little interesting to me. It suggests maybe he's going to fish for the pan somewhere else before immediately doing the Sheila 1 check.
Veritas Knight in chat asking what the timing is to get the swoon. I don't understand it at all, but do you, Dakar?
Basically, you need the ATB of the... at least to consistently get it, you need the ATB of the enemy to be at 0. So empty. So basically, like, you know, if you have it's kind of hard for me to explain, but if you have the right agility set up, you can sort of always do it right at the start, at least if you're not in a back attack. But with Sea Hero on and no anchor, it's really hard to do that consistently.
Pankraz found the monster chest in the Cave of Summoned Monsters and is raiding everything, finding an Earth Hammer, Heroine Robe, and Crystal Armor that Pyre did not get. Pyre, meanwhile, is at Baron Inn looking to rescue that Rydia.
Heroine Robe is a good find.
And see how he manages with these Dark Imps. They are still hitting hard enough to one-shot.
Yeah, they are still punchy here.
Not quite so much to the mages in the back row, but poor Cecil in the front got beat pretty bad.
Yeah, and I think he'll be through, though.
Looks like those viruses are doing a good job on these Dark Imps, taking them out.
It was a little touch and go, even with the levels he got, but well, we'll see what's hiding in the Baronet. Also see if Pankraz decides to take on the Bomb Ute.
Well, he's peeked them. And the Baron Key is in its vanilla location.
A little scoop of vanilla for us. I wonder if Pyre will just chase that. I mean, it is an objective.
It's a character, it's a key item. It's a purple robe standing in the way. Pankraz is going to find out the bad news about Ogopogo.
Yep.
On loan from Lake Okanagan in the British Columbia interior. And is not going to take on that Bahamut.
I think the starting boss was a purple robe with a pointy hat, if I'm remembering correctly.
Two fire swords and an earth hammer at the beginning of the Baron Underpass or Baron Waterpass. And Pankraz heading into Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, looks like maybe he's just doing some shopping. Gotta get the carrots.
You're gonna spend a night at the inn.
Very wisely doing a little safety save here in the Barren Waterway, because there are a couple of bosses on the throne that could still be a problem for this party.
We are still only running 3 characters, so...
Well, he does have the Rydia now, but she's not going to be
sorry.
contributing much at the moment.
And in comes Leviathan. Fortunately, with her low hit points, that wave is not going to be doing a whole lot of damage.
That is true. Sometimes it's useful to have low HP against the noodles.
And we see Kanatsu bouncing around in the dwarf throne room. Or behind the dwarf throne room, rather.
It's certainly doable with this party, although this is a fairly aggressive dwarf play for Pankraz's part. I wonder if he's feeling a little like it hasn't been going too well so far. He wants to mix it up.
Oops, I think Pyre was trying to knock down his Rydia before the fight ended, and unfortunately, the fight ended before he knocked down his Rydia.
Yep, not too much experience at this spot, so that doesn't necessarily rule out a future slingshot.
Now, for any of our watchers who might not know, any character who is less than 5 levels, or has fewer than 5 levels from the... Any character whose level is 5 levels or more lower than the median will receive double experience. There we go. I got my way through the explanation.
Yep, very well said.
And on the throne, Leviathan's wife.
Yeah, Asura here shouldn't be too much of a problem, maybe a mild nuisance.
I are going to go with the Star Veil strategy, using his remaining 2 Star Veils to put a wall on Asura so that she cannot heal herself. Pankraz, meanwhile, fighting Kanatsu and having a little bit of trouble with the waves. Using those Thor Rages that we get at the starting, from the starting pack to keep him from throwing too many of them. And we've got Kanatsu down to the point where he's hiding in the shell.
So we should be comfortably through this at this point, although, well, maybe a little weak heading into the second fight.
That all depends on who that second fight is. If it's a free one, then it won't matter too much.
That is true, and we know it's not Ogopogo, so that's always a good thing.
Sure, yeah. It could also be something like Plague, where your hit points coming in don't matter at all, even though it's not free.
Duff17 in chat saying, imagine if Asura revives Rydia just before dying. That actually cannot happen, because the Reflected Life spell cannot target a dead character, believe it or not.
Oh, we got Rubicant coming in for second one of Pankraz, and Rosa joining, and Edge behind the Baron throne.
Definitely a good find for both players. I think Pyre definitely has at least one ninja sword, unless he sold it, and Rosa is just always good to have.
Rubicant, meanwhile, might be a challenge here, unless Pankraz can get this damage down pretty quick.
Now, he's actually a pretty easy boss at this location, because he has...
There we go.
This spot, you really want to avoid the sort of punchy bosses. It has low magic power.
Okay. And we just get a Dragoon helmet, but Baron Castle has been liberated. Pyre has completed the first of 6 goals in 21 minutes.
That's a zonk that you're not sad to see.
Well, it's a good character, and it's a goal completed, and it fills out Pyre's party.
Yep. He's gonna take another drink from the dwarven toilet, and maybe make a run at Dwarf himself.
And we'll see what Luca has here. The Pan. Hello. That's a big find.
It is indeed.
Especially with Pankraz already in the underground. Pyre will be picking it up shortly, I would imagine.
Looks like both runners will be single dipping for Bull today.
Yeah, Pankraz immediately taking that pan to the Sylph Cave. Now there's a considerably more monster chests in the Sylph Cave. I think there's 6 or 7, aren't there?
That is right, yeah. So it's 7. There's 6 that, are in vanilla Poison Treasury, and then there's the Toad Lady.
So it's just not worth checking. We'll see
Certainly
what
not,
the
yeah, certainly not right now.
we'll see what the fairies offer up for smacking Yang in the head with a frying pan. A dragon whip.
Dragon Whip. Yeah, lots of Zonks here, despite,
Okay.
you know,
We do have a
our
heroine
relative.
robe and Iridia.
Yeah, we have some good stuff. A Charm Claw purchased for Pyre, just in case, I suppose.
Pancras headed to Fabul to turn in that pan, I'm sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. There are still 3K main checks here. It's gonna give you a lot of direction, probably.
And kamikazes for sale in the Fabul item shop.
Yeah, always good to have a few of those. Maybe you can get a Crumble Skit. Maybe you can speed up your Dark Elf cutscene.
And leading the assault against Fabul today, we have a blue robe, but we know it's not. We know it's not the gauntlet. It is the water hag.
Yep, just a single blue robe, and you know, not really probably what Pancras wants to see here, because it's, you know, talkative, and you know, at this point he could overpower anything that that would show up here anyway.
Still, there is a pep talk involved. Perhaps he needed to hear about believing in himself.
Well, I mean, the problem is that we haven't found a bard to fill our party out.
Pyre taking on Kairatsu and will be face down with Rubicant shortly.
Well, having a little bit of an easier time of it with a stronger and fuller party.
And there's the tower key, another important key item for a mission further down the list.
Yep, that definitely provides some direction.
Two key item checks in that tower, so it's probably worth heading down there. There's the Earth Crystal and the Sand Ruby. Some character checks available there, and I believe a key item behind the Earth Crystal, and the Earth Crystal Tower of Zot would give Rosa the ability to cast Exit.
That is true. But you know, another way we could get exit? We could go to Mount Ordeals and turn our Cecil into a paladin.
Also true. Fiery Blizzard pointing out that Darkness is now go mode.
Yeah, that is true. Always a little spooky. We have a pretty wide open seed here.
Is it? Queen of Mounts... I'm just doing the math. Darkness
Oh.
Darkness gates 2 objectives.
It's no mode for us, I guess, is probably more accurate, since Pankraz does not yet have the Baron key.
Right. Okay, we don't have either the Legend Sword or Adamant. We don't have the hook for the pink tail. But we do have the other 6 objectives available. Yes, that's true. Well, with Darkness Crystal. So we currently have 4 of 6 objectives on the table.
You know, and Darkness Crystal could be anywhere. It could be hiding behind that Canadian nope noodle.
Sure could. Pancras going to cash in that Earth Crystal.
Definitely a surprising play to me, I would say. Again, maybe makes me feel like he just doesn't happy with the way the seed's been going, because you know, you have an objective in the super cannon that you could go do, and there's 2 checks in that tower. Maybe find the darkness there, and you never have to do that.
That's true. My own thinking is often to wonder what my opponent will not be doing, and hope that. I mean, not that I have done a seed for a long time, or even done any in competition, but to think of what my opponent is not doing, and to do that in hopes of finding something they don't.
I mean, that can be a very good strategy if you think you're behind or if you think you're the underdog in a matchup. And, I do think Zot is a place Pyre could very well not go for a long time. So if that's what Pankraz is trying to do, this could be a really good play.
Pyre a step behind at Fabul, though he has done Baron Castle, which Pankraz has not, and Pankraz fighting the Dark Elf in the Magus Sisters spot.
Yep, not a particularly bad place to find the Dark Elf. Not many places are, but usually the thing with Dark Elf is it's just annoying if he's fast, and this is a slow spot, so you don't have to worry about that.
Even better.
Definitely interesting to me that both of these players are saying no to the Paladin.
Well, there could be a few reasons for that. The one was pointed out in chat that maybe they're waiting to just before they get a grind going so that they can get a slingshot out of it.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly a reasonable option. And Ordeals is a long check for only one key item.
There are 3 bosses up there, one of which Cecil has to fight alone.
That is true, and we haven't really we haven't found that D mist either, so the 3 bosses actually could be a reason to go up there.
Now this is interesting. Our Golbez substitute is the Elements fight, since we know where or no, that would have been Rubicant, wouldn't it? That would have been the...
Yeah, that was the
Golbez
Ruby.
Yeah. We got Yang at the top of the tower, and also Edge. Pyre collecting his power key.
Yeah, and I think if Pyre does sort of the orthodox play, then his next move would either be Ordeals or Tower. But we'll see if he follows Pankraz to Zot instead. The Treasury might guide him there.
And at the top of Zot, in Valvalis' spot, we have... Drumroll, please. Spinning Mist, please, I suppose. The King and Queen of Eblan. A free fight.
Not the most threatening fight here.
And the threat, of course, being to bring them all down to the Hades, which, from the top of a tower, is an awfully long way.
That is true, that is true. And the good news here, not a boss that crumbles, so we won't have to sit through that animation.
Oh, one Quake spell and they both disappear.
They're finding very important things. Star Fails here in the Troya pub, along with life potions. Great shop there.
And Unihorn's available in case he wants to unberserk anyone.
There is a time and a place for Unihorn strats, and that is a very rare time and place.
And the pass is the key item at the top of the Tower of Zot. Interestingly enough, that may completely eliminate the need for the Darkness Crystal.
That is a theoretical possibility. It could also have a lot of different effects on routing decisions, so it could further encourage divergence if that isn't a play Pyre also makes.
Pankraz once more going after Calbrena. The Calbrena should go pretty easy, and then the Dark Imps should fall fairly quickly after that.
Yeah, at this point the Dark Imps shouldn't be too much of a threat.
Pyre exiting out of Troya, not planning to get the... not planning to cash in that Earth Crystal, and heading instead to Mount Ordeals.
Yep, I think, well, maybe it makes sense. You still haven't found your Darkness Crystal. Maybe the dream of the slingshot is dying on the vine here.
A question in chat, has either player done Ordeals yet? No, neither of them have. Pankraz not taking that Rydia, happy with the full content of his party.
Yeah,
Pyre
and
heading straight for Ordeals 1
buy
and
again.
finding Baigan.
Great spot to find buy again. One of the lowest strength spots in the game.
Xpankraz, meanwhile, going under Baron with that key, unsurprisingly.
Yep, I think when you get the vanilla Baron key and it's an objective, you're probably gonna do this 9 times out of 10, if not more.
Yeah, especially when you've already got the experience and levels and party to do it.
Yep. Quake takes care of Baigan. We'll see who's at the back attack spot.
I saw purple. We've got Mylan just taking a few steps across the bridge.
Yeah, French vanilla here. Shouldn't be an issue. Got nothing too exciting to dart, so player's just gonna parry over and cast Quake.
He'll deal with a couple drains, but Pankraz taking on Leviathan in Baigan's spot.
Yep. There goes Mylon, and we'll find out who's waiting for us in the changing room in just a second.
Mylan tumbles into the deep ravine. Pankraz just cakewalking through that Leviathan and going to take on Azura on the throne.
A lot of the worst things for the boss here in the changing room are already out of the pool. We'd still have a spooky wyvern, though.
And a spoon. Not particularly useful.
No, you do have an edge to dart it, and it is a key item towards 10, which we're getting close to.
Mm-hmm. That matters for any who don't know, because 10 key items also doubles experience. And Pyre is at, my count says, 8. 8.
Oh, speaking of bosses you probably didn't want to see here,
Hello, Mom Bomb.
Yeah, this shouldn't be a problem, but it's definitely annoying.
Mom Bomb's second phase has something like 10,000 extra hit points, isn't that so? And then definitely slows this down.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see the explode phase for sure here, and then it's just kind of a matter of making sure Cecil keeps his HP topped off enough that he doesn't die to the bombs.
Pyre can make use of them Thor Rages.
Yeah, that'll take out the gray bombs, because the regular bombs are just a little too high on the magic defense.
And Pankraz has finished liberating Baron Castle, and both of our runners have completed 2 of the 6 necessary objectives. Pankraz going immediately to the lower Tower of Babel to clear out the super cannon.
Yeah.
And I imagine to check the top of the tower, too.
Makes sense. Again, do your objectives.
It's right here, and the spot, the Dr. Lugay spot, shouldn't be providing too much trouble for him.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, based on what we know, the Darkness Crystal is probably through the tower. Not for sure, but probably.
It could be, otherwise it could be behind the Queen at the
That's
Town
right.
of Monsters.
And there's also the Baron Basement that I don't think anyone's checked.
No one's checked that. It could also be behind the Mist Dragon, wherever that might be.
That is true. We could definitely have some fun Mist Dragon action. I don't know if anyone's even checked the Vanilla Mist spot.
I don't believe so. Pankraz checked the waterfall. We had a karate in the super cannon room who went down in one quick shot.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of Yang got a little confused about what he was supposed to do in that room, but
Yeah, normally he
sorted it
stops
out.
the super cannon from firing.
Pyre
Pyre
right
going-
Pankraz seal here.
Yeah. And Pankraz is just going to run that key item out while Pyre runs in. The two of them will pass each other and high five on the way, I'm sure.
Yeah, Pancras fading the top of tower for now, it looks like.
And personally, I don't like the call personally, but I can certainly see the advantage if it works. If it works, obviously it's the right call to make. Um,
Yeah, I
but
mean, it's another one of those calls you might make if you're looking to try to do something different from your opponent.
yeah, and it is something different from the opponent since Pyre is headed all the way up to the top of that tower. And the super cannon provides us with a Luca key, sealed cave on the table.
Yeah, I mean, that's another potential location for the Darkness Crystal. But
Or the
Pancras
hook.
says time to bite the bullet and do ordeals.
That sealed cave can provide a bit of an experience grind as well with all the trapdoors in there.
It can. The parties we have now are not set up particularly well. I think Pancras does have a heroine robe if he was able to get one of his white mages to wall.
And Pancras is going to fight Vigan in Ordeals 1.
Yeah, and I think Pyre is getting himself ready for a bonus round at the top of tower.
Yeah, there's the Mist Dragon.
Well, that definitely makes the top of tower fade a bit more worrying for Pancras. Not my favorite place to find a Mist Dragon just because of the relatively high hit points at this spot.
Yeah, the Mist Dragon will have the hit points from all 4 of the potential fights at Dr. Lugai's spot, I believe.
Yeah, it would not even be crazy to consider darting the spoon here to just save time.
Yeah. And hits actually hitting fairly well, too. Pancras taking on Mylon and Friends in Ordeals 2.
It's like Pyre is still trying to set up a slingshot, but this time the dancing dagger targeted Porum.
Probably just a slip of the finger.
And there is the spoon queued up.
Good call. 7,000 straight damage. Scarcerer in chat pointing out that the dancing dagger put Porum in cover range, so Porum and Palom are both in the range of obviously low hit points so that Cecil can block them.
It did do that, and I think... I don't know if that was intentional, but it's a nice side effect here.
And Pyre has completed the Mist Dragon.
Hmm?
And there's
That
the
is...
Legend Sword.
Yeah, that's a piece of an objective, which, even though Darkness is go mode, is still very relevant, because if you can avoid completing the Giant of Babel, that would save a lot of time.
True, true. Pancras is going to take on Mom.
Yep.
And Fiery Blizzard pointing out that when Pyre gets out of the tower, he'll have 10 key items. Double experience.
That is true. Just in time to do a grind, if you can find one.
And Pancras is at 9.
Yeah, I mean, if Rydia's mom is holding a key item, we could be all the way at 11 on Pyre's side. But with each check here that doesn't yield the Darkness Crystal, the odds of it being behind that note will increase.
Mm-hmm. So neither the Legend Sword and Adamant Forge or the Pink Tail deliver a key item, which means that the only one of our objectives remaining that could provide forward progression at this point is the Queen of the Town of Monsters. The Vanilla Crystal Sword could also have forward progression if it holds the hook or the Adamant Rock.
Yes, but we do know that the Vanilla Crystal Sword Altar does not lead to the Darkness Crystal, because that would be a very broken seed.
That, yeah, might be a bit of a challenge to get to the moon without the big whale.
Yeah, I think it would take a while to get there in the Falcon.
Well, you just keep going up until you get there, right?
Maybe.
And Pyre will be claiming his Luca key as Pankraz walks out with his new freshly minted paladin. And a spoon to go with it.
Pyre
Pyre cracking
deciding,
open his siren, fighting
yep,
egg.
now that he's got 10 key items, it's not going to be more efficient to use it later, so why not?
Pankraz heading back underground. Heading back for the Cave of Summoned Monsters. Probably to check out, see if he can take out that Ogopogo.
Well, I think he likely can do it. It's not going to be pleasant, but I think, once you get blinks up and you have enough curatives, it eventually becomes a pretty trivial fight.
Pyre going to join him there.
Yep. Pyre gonna have a bit of a stronger party, but that only helps so much against the Nope Noodle with his, big waves doing the percentage-based damage. One thing
More hit
Pankraz has
points.
going for him here is he actually has a level 1 paladin to sort of somewhat anchor.
More hit points means more damage needed to heal.
Yeah, that is true, and there's a range where you don't have Cure 3 yet, where actually, like, Cure 2 starts to become very bad.
Pankraz optimally equipping his characters. Pyre spending a night at the inn and heading to save.
It
And the
is
two of them-
interesting to me that Pyre is coming here before having checked Rydia's mom, though. That's a little curious to me.
Well, it is a required objective.
That is true.
And the two of them going to be challenging Ogopogo at roughly the same starting time.
Dueling noodles, all sorts of big waves. Love to see it.
Pankraz looks like he made a fairly close calculation of hit points to get his characters all in critical hit rate or critical health range there.
Yeah, a very good play.
Going to keep Cecil guarding and start berserking the other characters.
Meanwhile, Pyre suffering from a little bit of board face AI here. I think he might just need to reset the fight. Turning down the battle speed always helps too.
Yep. Pankraz berserking that Porum with the probably the heroin robe and a bow and arrow
Certainly.
on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she might be the best berserker he's got right now. It's probably, yeah, I think she has a bit of an edge over Edge.
Out come the viruses. Palom has bluffed a couple times to raise magic power.
Yeah.
Here comes Blaze. Pyre backing out of that fight a second time.
Yeah, the Noodle is being a bit rude here to Pyre.
And
Meanwhile,
Pankraz is
Pankraz,
through.
yeah, very, very well executed to get through that fight with a, you know, I would say a very creative and unorthodox strategy.
And it
And
is the Darkness Crystal. So
there it
Pankraz
is.
is officially in go mode.
He is indeed, and you know, he knows, he has a very straightforward path to the end of the seed. I think the biggest decision would be if you're gonna grind in the giant, do you just do it, or do you, look at the vanilla crystal altar, see what's there. Maybe it's a hook, and you don't have to do the giant.
It's a good question. The big one for me would be, is he currently strong enough to take on the Vanilla Crystal Sword Altar? Otherwise, that's a long way to go for something you can't beat.
Well, yeah, I think either way, we're gonna see him do a grind before he faces any more objectives.
Also, that Darkness Crystal putting Pankraz as well at 10 key items. Because the pass does not count as a key item, if I remember. And so Pankraz's grind will be rather quick, or faster anyway, because he's getting double experience.
Yep.
And Ogopogo being un-Canadianly rude to Pyre, again.
Yeah, it's a difficult fight. I mean, agility is... Yeah.
Oh, and Pankraz going to the tower of, or the I'm not even sure that the Hall of Memories or whatever's up there, and taking Rydia, who is currently still at level 1 and is going to slingshot very nicely.
Yeah, makes sense. I think his party management has been quite good this seed.
Darth Plague'll pointing out that Ogopogo was doubly required. Not only was it one of our goals, but negated 2 other goals, meaning that defeating Ogopogo is a blockade on 3 goals, and of course we can only leave 2 of them behind.
At least 3.
Power of wishes in this translation. Thank you, Scarcerer. Yes, at least 3. Who knows whether the adamant or the hook are up on the moon.
This is still just not going very well for Pyre. The party choice here to sort of not take the Rosa makes this more difficult.
The Pankraz is searching for a grind, going back and forth to see what sort of random encounter seed he happens to be on.
Yeah, and Pyre is saying, well, goodbye to the Nope Noodle, which is not very good for him because we know that's required, but at the same time, can't just keep beating your head against something.
There are other things he can check, and so he'll go and check Rydia's mom, I suspect, and possibly the Tower of Zot.
Yeah, I think at least the Rydia's mom check makes sense, but we know it's not going to lead him to what he really wants.
But if it's the hook or the adamant, it might lead to another nice piece of equipment which could help out. It is the rat tail, which is not useful.
Not useful without the hook, at least.
It could also lead to the adamant, won't lead to the hook.
That is very true. And so he is going to make the Zot play now, which is very understandable.
Pankraz summoning the Giant of Babel.
Yeah, so even though I would say Pyre was ahead for most of the early game, now Pankraz has a fairly commanding lead.
Yeah, it would seem so. Though it does make me wonder what's in the sealed cave.
It's always a Sork robe.
If instead, though, if it's the hook leading to the third objective, trading away the pink tail, And if the rat tail holds the adamant, that would put Pyre in a position not needing to go to the moon.
That is true. And, at that point, I do think you could cobble together a grind without ever finding the Darkness Crystal. Um,
Fair to
but,
Snipe pointing out Barren Basement is also an option.
yep, but in the end, I think, unless something really turns catastrophic here for Pankraz, it's hard to see any of those plays actually catching up. Maybe there's a universe where the giant here is absolutely miserable. You've got, like, CPU and elements, and so Pankraz decides to walk away from that, and then he just can't find either of the other objectives. That might be Pyre's best bet.
Of course, at this point, all of the other objectives, all the other key items should be on the table. We've got access to the moon and all of the altars up there, as well as Bahamut Cave. We know where the rat tail is, and we've got access to the sealed cave. So we should have eyes on everything at least.
But it is possible that that top of tower is, at least has a lot of value. And I don't think Pankraz is going back there anytime soon.
I definitely, I suspect that Pankraz is set right now. Unless whatever's in the back of the Giant of Babel is truly heinous, I think that Pankraz is going to finish the grind, go through the Giant, and then head up to the moon to finish the seed off.
Well, that seems very likely.
And Pyre not taking Young into the party. And of course, the duplicate edge does him no good whatsoever.
No, he's going to beat his King and Queen of Eblan up here. If he's anything like me, he's thinking, oh good, it's not Golbez.
Pankraz, meanwhile, grinding off these Mac Giants.
My Mac Giant group compatriot, doing some Mac Giants, making us proud.
Took a while for me to understand that they are not in fact Scottish, that the Mac is short for machine.
Yes, well, character limits made for some creative names in this game.
And for anyone wondering why Pankraz is using life potions on dead giants, the game has, I guess you'd call it a glitch, where when you use a life potion or a life 1 spell on something to bring it back to life, it regains hit points equal to 5 times its vitality score, and none of the monsters have any vitality score in this game, which means that they come back to life with 0 hit points and immediately die again, before even appearing on the map, giving you full credit for 2 kills.
Yeah, definitely a useful technique to shorten the length of your grind by 50% or more.
And we'll see the benefits of all that experience on that Rydia shortly. Pyre checking the Barren Basement.
Understandable play. Another Sparkle down here.
Lunar Dragons. And 51 levels for that level 1 Rydia.
Yep.
Double experience for 10 key items, and double experience again for having 5 or more levels, or for being 5 or more levels below the median party level.
And there is Nuke.
And Pankraz being sure to turn off encounters.
Definitely an important step.
Even at these levels, the fights in the Giant of Babel are no joke.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be some incredibly bad luck to run into like a back attack that actually kills this party, but better safe than sorry.
Pyre preparing Star Veils on his party to get the D-Lunars to reflect their own breath attack back on themselves and turn themselves into frogs.
He has used a lot of Star Veils this seed, and to good effect.
Here comes the breath. And the dragons are now frogs. And
Yep.
this fight becomes trivial. Pankraz checking out the element spot, and it is an evil wall. Oh no!
I mean, this is very doable, but it's definitely one of the, one of the somewhat more annoying things to encounter here.
Definitely an unpleasant option.
Yeah, the agility is really what makes Evil Wall here so painful. It is somewhat punchy, but this party doesn't mind the punches. It's the just sitting through all the animations and possibly crush phase.
Evil Wall was always a pretty big gate for me playing it when I played vanilla. Twin Harp in Barren Basement.
Yeah,
We
that
could
is...
be getting some music from Pyre.
Yeah, that's good for chat, but probably not good for Pyre, because it just means he's likely to get rabbit holed here.
If we see a hook there, we'll be doing all right.
Yeah, I mean...
Potentially.
It, it could still lead him to value, but it's gonna be a relatively slow value.
Pepita in chat pointing out that it has been established before, but this is not called the nice wall of fluffiness.
That is certainly true. Doesn't look very fluffy in the sprite, although a fluffy evil wall would be a great sea sprite.
The plush wall. Pyre taking his black chocobo to Cave Magnez, where we will see a play on the twin harp.
Yep. I mean, at this point, his gamble is that the value is not behind the Nope Noodle, and unfortunately, I think he's going to be disappointed in that, but he is going to reward us with music, so that's good.
Evil Wall getting awfully close there.
Yep. But Pankraz making good progress with Nuke. I think probably not too worried about the Evil Wall.
And for Cave Magnez, we have to be aware that we have randomized the music that Edward gets to play on the twin harp. There's something like 600 community-suggested tunes that can be played, and the tradition for the commentators is to get out of the way and let y'all listen to it. So I think that's what we'll be doing shortly. And Pankraz just clicking that evil wall just before the music begins.
And there's the disappointment of the Artemis arrows.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
Oh,
we see
we got
Octo here at the giant 2 spot. Punchy, but not too scary.
a Pyre back underground, checking out checking out what he might be able to find. Some illusions that might help him out.
Definitely will help him out. If he would have found those earlier, I think this could look like a very different seed.
And Pankraz cleaning up Octomom, clearing out the Giant of Babel. We'll see what character is going to be left behind. Oh, Pyre heading to check out the sealed cave. And a vanilla cane in the back of the Giant of Babel.
Yep. Yeah, our restreamer Anthadale pointing out that the Artemis arrows don't help too much with Ogo Pogo because he's not a dragon, and also I think Pyre doesn't have the heroine robe, so his archer situation in general is just not very good.
And Pankraz, unsurprisingly, heading up to the moon.
Yep. At this point, the rest of the seed should be fairly academic. I don't think there's any boss at the Crystal Sword Altar that would be too worrisome. Maybe a glance wyvern or something would be amusing, but outside of that scenario, I don't see anything giving Pankraz much trouble.
We'll get to see who's sitting on the lunar throne. It is the package in the basement, and Edward sitting in lunar throne. Package in the sealed cave, rather.
Lunar Bard is always welcome. Pyre getting the bad news that he has last location the Darkness Crystal. That always feels bad on these steeds.
Yeah, well, he certainly knows where he has to go now.
Yep, we'll see how he adjusts his strategy to hopefully have some more success on the Ogo Pogo here.
It's interesting to think that Pankraz's lower levels may actually have helped out there for not having to take as much damage off the big waves.
Yeah, I mean there are certainly sort of breakpoints and what curative spells and items you have, where getting more hit points is actually just making your life harder.
But those illusions should help out.
Yeah, I think if Pyre had had the illusions, he would have gotten through, probably on his first try, because once you get blinks up, Ogo Pogo, much less scary.
Pankraz unsurprisingly making the run down to the Crystal Sword Altar directly, not bothering with anything else on the way.
Yep, when you're in go mode, it's best to just go, go, go.
Oof, and Ogopogo not giving Pyre any quarter.
Turning down the battle speed a little bit should help with getting those illusions off.
And the Crystal Sword Altar has the Wyvern.
Alright, now we just need to see glance.
Nope, fire 2.
Well, I guess I can't be the perfect witch all the time.
Nope, Vanilla Wyvern at the Crystal Sword Altar. So, should not be too much of a challenge at this point. We've randomized what Wyvern's opening move is, so it doesn't always open with Mega Nuke. And can sometimes open with some pretty strange things. I know I've seen it at least once open with Retreat, just ending the fight.
Yeah, that's always a fun one. Explode is also similarly amusing.
And no real challenge there for Pankraz. I'm sure we'll be seeing a walk down to the... be seeing a walk down to Zemus shortly.
Probably an exit out since he has the pass.
Exit and pass? All right. I still don't know what's faster where, so...
The Crystal Soul Altar is very out of the way.
Fair enough. Darth Plagal in chat asking, is Mega Nuke actually in the Witchburn pool? I don't know. I don't know anything, so...
Well, it certainly is not on these flags. I can't recall off the top of my head if it's in the pool still when you have the unsafe flag on.
I think we may have to revoke that poor noodle's citizenship at this point. This sort of rudeness is unbecoming of a Canadian.
It certainly is.
And I suspect that unless we see something go terribly sideways for Pankraz here, we will be seeing this series tied all up.
It certainly looks like that, which is great for us because it means more free enterprise.
Pankraz using that pass to head down into the lunar subterrane without bothering to walk that whole distance. And I've seen one Z question mark in chat.
Yep. Chat.
So the reality of that...
Sleepy.
Yeah, the reality of that is that Zemus is far too dangerous to move around to put in a random location, so we cannot randomize where Zemus is. What we can randomize is who Zemus is, and there's a collection of something like 800 different sprites that have been randomized into the seed, one of which will be telling us whose butt we are going to be kicking this lovely afternoon.
Yeah, very well said. And here I thought there was just a bunch of sleepy folks in chat. I'm struggling with a little jet lag myself, but this is helping to get me back more on a regular schedule. So thank you all for assisting me with my travel-related woes.
Anytime. Pankraz doing some last setup on his characters here. Edge picking up the crystal. Zemus shaking off the signal. Here's the pitch. We have white flashing lights, a small explosion.
Are they all queued up?
True colors are emerging. We should be seeing a Gur Arg. There it is. And we are fighting Zemus. And for once, I actually know what that's from.
Well, that is, yeah, that's a pretty memorable one.
33 years ago, just after I had been to my optician's appointment, had my pupils dilated with eye drops, found out that I needed glasses. On the way home, we stopped at Jumbo Video and rented this fancy new thing called a Super Nintendo Entertainment System with the latest Super Mario World. And we did not reach Zemus that weekend.
Well, that's a shame.
My father and I did what we could, but we weren't that good at the game yet.
Yeah, it's a pretty substantial game, so makes sense you wouldn't get through just a weekend.
Now I can beat it in an evening.
Certainly, yeah.
And the actual speedrunners of Super Mario World out there, I got nothing on them. Here comes our first big bang, which has been properly nerfed.
Yep, and getting a slow cast out. Meanwhile, the Note Noodle still being rude to Pyre. Cecil having to play white mage duty here.
Pankraz reflecting nukes at that Bausimus.
The Note Noodle finally goes down for Pyre. That's a relief.
And Pyre will get his Darkness Crystal.
Pretty standard reflect strats here from Pankraz. A very safe and effective way to bring down Zeromus.
So when Zeromus reaches a certain damage threshold, he will refill his hit points as a reaction ability. Reflected spells do not trigger reaction abilities. And therefore, without having to go through the third and fourth phases of Bausimus, Pankraz has completed the seed and has declared victory over Pyre in this second game of their series.
Yeah, and it looks like Pyre understandably not wanting to play this one out.
No, I can definitely understand that. That giant Babel would take quite a while.
Yep, definitely probably had some frustration with that Note Noodle being very rude.
So good game to both runners, and congrats to Pankraz for taking that win.
I think we are joined by both of our runners. GG's.
Well done.
GG, thank you. Pancreas should be in here.
I am. I just have to rebind my push to talk keybind because it's a new controller. GG's.
Well, that was a spicy seed. I think the Darkness Crystal location was particularly spicy. What did you all think of it?
It's
Not a fan.
one hell of a hard gate at the end of it all.
Yeah, certainly. I think Pyre. Yeah, we all probably know how you feel about it at this point. That was pretty painful. I did want to ask Pankraz though about the kind of cover strats and anchor strat you had set up there. Was that something you were planning from early on, or was that something you kind
Basically,
of?
yeah, I
Yeah,
was planning that since I spotted at about the 15-minute mark. I wanted to hold off on ordeals so that way I could have a base level Cecil to anchor for that fight because I knew that it was going to be really bad. And I was hoping that one of my character checks would give me some kind of melee damage that I could then use to kind of supplement it all and let that fight be a little friendlier than, Palom doing it all as I had been doing for most of the rest of the seed. So
makes
when
sense.
Edge turned up, and once the Artie bow turned up as well, I'm like, all right, we're set. We're gonna do ordeals once the time comes, and then I'm in Darkness Crystal Go mode at 30 minutes, so the time came.
Well, very well done. I think that probably was, the deciding factor in the race, really. Both of you were attempting Ogo for the first time around the same time, and well, one of you was able to make it work, and the other was not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of those fights where the littlest thing, Pyre was mentioning that his Edge just kept getting pummeled, and that's not going to go well on a fight as delicate as that one.
Yeah, definitely had some unfortunate luck to go with just the generally bad agility.
I actually had the same plan as Pancreas, but I changed my mind at the last second because I didn't think Tower would make that big of a difference, but I was wrong.
Yeah. That was, it was very interesting to me that you both made the decision to keep Cecil as a Dark Knight for as long as you did. I think probably I would have, just made the reckless gamble that Ogo doesn't have the goods and got him nice and early, and then I would have had even worse agility than Pyre.
Yeah, I thought about that, but there was really no good opportunity, or I had better opportunities to try to single dip Fabul with a bunch of other checks, which ended up paying out. But um, And he wasn't really going to be that big of a help as a paladin, and I wanted to see if I could slingshot a hero, but didn't happen this time.
Yeah, the other decision I think, might have made it a little tougher for you, Pyre, was, keeping the Rydia as sort of a just, keeping her around and down instead of picking that Rosa up as an additional source of healing and blink. That even made it more challenging, I think.
Yeah, I dismissed her without actually thinking about it and regretted it later, but I didn't want to go pick her up again.
Yeah, probably it was too late at that point, right?
Hmm.
Let's see. I guess my other question was for Pankraz. Now, what was your thinking behind the early Zot play?
Um, I'm not sure. At the time, it was kind of a proximity sort of thing. Had just done my Fabul checks. I was right in the neighborhood. Let's knock it out. Let's try to get a couple more characters to flush this party out. I knew at that point, that Rydia was in Baron in. That's a slingshot target, but I need somebody else that can do some damage. Whether that's to the Mac Giants eventually going to be showing up, or to any of the other bosses along the way. So a couple character checks along the way. I figured it would be fine at that point. Um, when I was up there after clearing the first boss, I'm like, I really shouldn't be up here right now. This isn't a good play. This is silly. We can make things work with other characters. It'll be fine. I don't know what I'm doing.
How did you feel
But
about it after you got the pass and an edge out of it?
I mean, the edge was all right. I won't disagree on that front. I had no weaponry really. He kept his middle sword mute knife until the end of that seed, and he wore them with pride. But the pass was a nice consolation prize. It meant that it wasn't just 5 minutes sunk for a character check, especially once Dupe Edge showed up and it didn't really matter as much.
Hmm.
It was a matter, well, just it wasn't the worst play in hindsight. It wasn't the best play, but I'm glad that it worked out all right with the pass turning up like that.
All right. Well, I'm really looking forward to game three. Do you have any questions for runners Oregon, Mike?
No, particularly. I think you pretty much covered all my questions, and between you and chat, you covered my questions while we were in the seed. So I just want to wish you both, or want to let you both know I enjoyed the seed, and thank you both for running it because we wouldn't have much to restream if you weren't running.
Of course, but I always put on a show. We went to 5 games in OMG. We're gonna go to 3 games here. It's in the cards. It's how it be.
It's
And
only right. Yeah.
thank you all for putting on the show as well. Always fun to watch back and see all the production value that there is behind the scenes.
Always happy to do it.
All
Pyre,
right.
any last words for us here? Or?
Nope. Just GG and thanks, and GG
No
Pancras, and thanks
worries.
for having me on.
Hey, GG's, man.
Good luck to both runners tomorrow.
Thank you. We'll both
Thanks.
need it.
Yep.
And I think that's about it from us.
Yep. So I think we're going to be sending folks over to High Spirits, who's playing the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest randomizer.
Always an exciting time, that one. And yeah, and hopefully we'll catch you again before too long with another free enterprise seed here.
Always fun.
So, for my colleague Dakar Smash, thank you very much, and to Antidale, who has been making things happen here, and Fiery Blizzard, who has been clicking the buttons and tracking for us. My name is Oregon Mike, and that's it from us today.